Most people have had the same experience with AI by now. You open the tool, you type in what you want, and what comes back is fine. It is grammatically correct, it's reasonable, it's usable. But it's also completely forgettable. You read it and you think, huh, that's not bad, but it's not you either. It could have been written by anybody, for anybody. And here's the question that almost nobody asks: why? This is Kaizen with Luca, and today I want to show you that the answer has almost nothing to do with the tool and everything to do with how well you know yourself. This is what most AI outputs actually look like. Not bad, just the same. They're interchangeable. You can swap any of these blocks out and it'll be the same. It's the same shape every time, no matter who typed the prompt. 1,000 people ask for a post about leadership, and 1,000 people get a version of the same gray block. And the natural thing to do when you get a generic result is to blame the thing that actually produced it. So we blame the tool. We say the tool is limited. We say the tool is not creative. AI is not creative. It doesn't do anything, right? Where does the creativity lie? AI is just a pattern maker. But AI doesn't actually, it doesn't get it, right? That's what we say. It's not creative, it's limited, it doesn't understand. We make the tool the big thing in the room. We make the tool responsible for the result. But the tool was never the bottleneck. You were. This little dot right here. Not because you're not smart enough or not good with technology, because it's all tied back to how little of yourself you actually brought to it. The whole game is happening in this small bright circle, not the big dim circle. Here's the way I want you to think about it from now on. AI is a mirror. It can only ever reflect back what you bring to it. If you bring a vague, half formed sense of who you are and what you want, it's going to reflect that right back. And if you bring something specific and real, it'll reflect that. So when the output comes back generic, that's by design, because you are inputting generic information. Generic is a reflection of what you are giving. The tool is showing you with uncomfortable accuracy exactly how clearly you understand yourself. Let me make that concrete. Watch what goes in and what comes out. You give it something thin. Write me a post about leadership. A few words, no real sense of who is asking or why. And of course, what comes back is just as thin. A flat, gray, generic block. Vague in equals vague out. Same thing as I've said in the past. Trash in is trash out. If you're just writing, write me a post about leadership, and you have no additional context for what the AI should be writing or what you think about leadership, it's going to search its database for other similar posts about leadership, for other things that people are talking about when it pertains to leadership. I look up to Simon Sinek, Gary Vee, Arnold Schwarzenegger. What would they say about leadership? If I want those influences to come through, then I need to make sure that I tell AI what I look up to, what I aspire to. Now, in the business, we always say that these are rough drafts. You should never take what AI is outputting as gospel. It needs to be reread, rewritten, and understood in a way that works for you. But when you're bringing a piece of yourself to this, That's where the true first drafts become more efficient. That's when they become 90% done. That's when you can start to unlock another way of thinking. You can use this generic box that it's putting out as a way to think outside of that box for yourself. Because if you're putting in vague and you're getting vague out, there was nothing in the input for the mirror to reflect. So it's reflecting nothing. It's like you're a vampire. You're there, right? But mirrors don't pick up vampires. So they say. And that's kind of exactly what we're looking at here. If you're in a room full of vampires and there's a mirror, you're not going to see them. And that, like, one, what was that? There was a movie or something out there where they talked about that. I don't know if it was a more recent one or what, but some lady was dancing with a vampire and she looked in the mirror and she was in a room full of vampires. And none of them reflected back in the mirror. That's exactly what it's like when you're using AI, just like everybody else, and use it as a search engine, or you're just typing in 10-word max sentences. Now, I'm not saying you have to go out there and write a New York Times bestseller as a prompt. Sure, it helps, but you can create custom GPTs, or you can create gems, or you can create projects that are specifically designed to work for you, that understand you, that understand your values. Because now you can take an idea that you have and fully flesh out that idea and take it to market or do whatever you want, and it's going to be ready. You don't have to sit there for 30 minutes trying to describe who you are and what you're trying to get out of it. I think the most frustrating thing is this slide right here. For people, it's the most, I have coworkers that have used AI and they say, oh, well, I can write this faster. I spent 20 minutes trying to get this draft to be where I want it to be. I can just write it faster. Well, you know what you're looking for. You already know what the outcome is that you want if you're just writing a quick email to inform somebody about something. So yeah, of course you can write it faster because you already know what you want. But the thing is that if I had already given you a tool that knows what the output should look like, it's going to write that note in seconds. It's going to write that first draft in seconds. So when you're starting from scratch, it's a lot harder, which is why you have to have an actual pipeline. So watch what happens when you change the input. It's the same tool, the same model, and nothing changes about the technology. Still the same technology. It'll still be the same model. But the only thing that changed is what you brought to it. You bring your actual voice, the specific people you are talking to, what you genuinely believe about leadership and why it matters to you. You bring yourself in detail. And the output transforms with it. Specific in and rich out. Notice how we have 3 bars of specific, but we get 6 bars of rich out because we're leveling it up. We're adding layers to it. The mirror had something real to reflect, so it gave you something real back. And that's the entire difference. And it lives in you. It doesn't live in AI. That's why I truly believe that the anxiety that we have around AI, that people believe AI is going to take away so many different things from us, that's such a small mindset to have. It's an old mindset. You have to adapt. That is what it means to be human. You have to adapt. What do you think happened when they discovered the wheel? What do you think happened when they discovered the assembly line? You think the assembly line back when Ford figured that out, they're going to say, you know what? No, you want to be faster? No, we got to keep doing it the old way. We have to adapt. AI is not going anywhere. I know that there are tons of controversies around AI, data center, water usage, all those things. That's all going to get sorted out one way or another. We are in a new industrial revolution. We are in a new internet revolution, and it all has started with AI. We are literally living history. And if you are not understanding how to use this, because you just want to be different, right? I think I was just talking to one of the professors that I look up to and talk to a lot, and we went out for some coffee. And we're talking about all this stuff, and I think he was basically saying that anybody that's anti AI is essentially like a new age hippie, right? You don't want things to change. You don't. You want to just keep things the way that they were. You want to say, "Oh, a human made this, so I need to buy it." If you use AI, that's AI slop. But I used AI to make this presentation. I used Canva AI to make this background. I'm not a graphic designer. I can't. I don't have the money to pay a graphic designer. And you might sit there and say, "Well, you know what? You should not have done it then." Well, I have dreams, and I have tools that are cheap for me to use that I can make this type of stuff with. This AI presentation made by Claude, it looks nice. It has some transitions and stuff in it. Would have probably taken me, I don't know, 2 hours to sit down and do all this stuff to get it all looking nice, and it made it for me in about 5 minutes. I used a Claude prompt that knew what I wanted to have. It understands the branding, and it created this PowerPoint for me. It already knows all the different things that I want to talk about, so it made it. And now I guess get to riff on it. And it's a nice minimalistic PowerPoint. And I get to do this type of stuff because I know exactly what I want out of the AI, because I understand myself. So you need to not fall behind. You can't fall behind, especially this day and age where we are so technologically advanced than we were 10 years ago. You have to keep up, or else you're going to get left behind. And when you get left behind, it's going to be really hard for you to claw your way back. And that's where a lot of people have anxiety with AI. That is where all of it lies. Yes, I understand that you want to have original things. And you know what? I completely understand the creative aspect for AI, right? I'm a creative at heart. I have no way to I have no medium to create. I'm a terrible artist, like drawer. I suck at graphic design, but I have all these ideas. And AI helps me take those ideas and bring them to life so that when I'm ready to actually go and do those things, I can explain it in a way that makes it easier for somebody that has those things to go and do it. I had specific ideas for this logo. My logo that you see right in the bottom left here is made by a human. But the concept started with something in AI, and the human element that was brought in by the graphic designer and listening to what I was doing created this beautiful logo. And shout out to that guy, by the way. And you know who you are. And that's the power, right? And also that same graphic designer, we work in the same company. He says, "Comms people bring concepts or concepts," right? He's playing a word on this, which is a beautiful way to look at this. And he's an AI guru as well. And you might say, well, he's working himself out of a job. I think he's actually upskilling himself because he gets to work a lot faster and use that creative brain that he has and that talent, and that gets amplified by AI. And we're going to be talking about amplification later on. But he gets amplified. His creativity goes 10 times because he is enabled by AI. He can work faster and do more creative things because he knows exactly what he wants to get out of AI. So, all of this lives in you. It doesn't live in AI. AI understands everything, right? It's a big data pool. It understands all of that. But you are the conductor. AI is the orchestra. You can call upon the violins, and the violins will do their thing. You can call upon the trumpets, and they're going to do their thing. You can call upon the clarinets or the drums, and you're orchestrating. You get to pick all the elements that you want out of it. Now, if you were a conductor, then you didn't know all the different ensemble, I think that's what they are, right? all the different ensembles that are out there, they're all just going to go in harmony together. And it could sound really great. This is a perfect analogy, actually. I just came up with this. They're all going to sound great because all of those individual people are professionals. Just like how AI is a professional because it understands all of the all the data that it has. But you, as the conductor, have to be able to have the understanding to pick out if you want violins, to pick out if you want trumpets, to pick out if you want drums. Think of it as like Jacob Collier. I think he's one of the most interesting musicians out there. I'm not a huge fan of just like his regular music, but watching him live and how he conducts an orchestra is exactly how my mind thinks of conducting AI. That guy is brilliant with what he does when he's leading an orchestra. Brilliant. And how he leads people for his music. And that is exactly the way that I feel when I'm using AI. I get to pick on certain different things and it elevates my own understanding and my own abilities. All right, let me move on to our next slide here. This stuff scales further than you would actually think. And this is not a one-time trick. The deeper you know yourself, the better everything you make becomes. And this doesn't just end with AI. Your work, your decisions, the way you show up, all of that gets brought up with deeper self-knowledge. Because AI isn't adding anything to you that was not already there. It amplifies what already is, the things that I just talked about. If what is there is rich and specific and known, it's going to amplify that. Because if what is there is vague, it's just going to amplify the vague. The tool just raises the volume on whatever you bring. That's powerful right there in itself. If you are giving it nothing, nothing is just going to get turned up. But if you're bringing it diamonds, it's going to multiply that. You're going to get so much value out of it because you know yourself. That's the key. And that doesn't just translate to AI. You can do this whole sprint without an AI model, but it's intended to be done with AI because that is the up leveling that we want to provide. So there is a framework underneath all of this. It's called Know, Bring, Build. These are 3 steps, and they only work in order. The first one is the one everybody wants to skip. It's this bottom one, the largest one of the pyramid. It's know. Know yourself first. How you actually think, what you value, and how you really sound when nobody is editing you. And that's the work most people never do. And that is why their output is generic. You cannot bring what you have not found yet. That leads us to the second step. The second smaller but still large block, bring. Once you know yourself, then you can carry that into the tool, into every prompt and every interaction. You stop asking it to guess who you are, and you start telling it in detail because now you actually know. This is where the mirror finally has that thing to reflect. It's going to start reflecting you. And the third step is build. That's the top step. Now you construct on that foundation. Systems, work, a body of output that is unmistakably yours because it is built on a base only you have. And that value is how you stay ahead in this day and age because you are not replicable. I was trying to find the word there. Anybody honestly can be replaced, but the quality of work that you have cannot be replaced. If you are worried that AI is going to take away a specific job function or anything like that, that's where you add your wrap to it. When you add that value that you bring, then it becomes beyond something that is AI. They can't replicate the way that you think about AI. And this is kind of how I have niched myself into certain things in my own role with AI. because of the way that I'm using it and the way that I orchestrate it. Nobody can do that. Maybe there's somebody that comes along that has a different way of thinking, but they will never be able to actually replicate everything that I have done unless they take it from me, right? Unless they actually know the way that I think to the T, they will never be able to replicate my own outputs. So I do this for people all of the time. I actually had ran a little presentation about image generation and having people generate concepts, and people were having a hard time getting the concept that they wanted. And the thing that they were lacking was the understanding. They didn't actually really know themselves or what the output they were actually achieving. So when I came in, and because I know myself and I also know the tools well enough, I was able to guide them and generate prompts that got better outputs using the same exact tools that they use. That's the difference. That's the difference. When you do know, bring, and build, that's the actual difference. Because I know myself, I bring that to the tool, and I build. But before, when I had people just running and doing their thing with an image prompt, they didn't have this large foundation. They didn't know themselves. They were just bringing something and trying to build it, and it wasn't working because they didn't have the full thing. Their pyramid was not fully built out. So back to build. You have to notice that know, bring, build is a foundation. If you skip this bottom layer, the whole thing has nothing to stand on. So here's something that you can actually do this week. Before you open any tool, I want you to try this. Describe yourself in one paragraph as if you are briefing someone who has never met you and has to write in your voice. It's a challenging task. Pay attention to where it gets hard. Pay attention to where it goes vague, where you're not sure what to say. That blank space, that part you couldn't fill, that's not a small thing. That's the exact gap that is showing up in everything you produce. That's where the work lies, right there. Which leaves one question. If the tool can only reflect what you bring, and right now you are bringing a half-formed sketch of yourself, then think about what is actually possible on the other side of doing this work. What could you build if you actually knew yourself? And this is not a tool ceiling. This is your ceiling. This is your limitation. The quality of what you bring has never been a tool problem. It is a self-knowledge problem. And I have good news for you in that this is simple. It means the ceiling is not set by the technology. It is set by how well you are willing to know yourself. Direction changes everything. And one more thing before you go. If you want help actually doing this, the knowing yourself part, and we can get into the AI stuff later, that is the entire reason Kaizen exists. That's why this is here. It's a 4-week sprint built to close this exact gap. I'm putting together a small early group, and the link to get on that list is in the description. It takes 30 seconds, and it's the first specific thing you can do instead of staying vague. So go put your name down. I'll catch you next time.